War Eagle War Rapport family, I'm your host C-Dub, and we have plenty to discuss today. Auburn records its first top 10 victory in the Brian Harsin era and its first top 10 victory since the 2019 Iron Bowl. And the fellas are all here to discuss that, break down grades, talk about keys to the game or tools to the game, as well as what we saw around the rest of college football. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But for now, sit back, get your weight up, because your weekend tailgate starts right now.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by University Ace Hardware. It's your boy, I Jones. Be Will, C-Dog, Mike G. Get ready, sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the latest Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by our good friends at University Ace Hardware. Always remember, for your hardware needs, Ace is the place for you. And if you ever happen to be in the Auburn area, please stop by 2101 East University Drive. Drop in and let them know that your buddies at the War Rapport sent you. Also, shout out to our War Rapport family. Guys, do us a favor. Share the video. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Please share so people can find this great content and celebrate this Ole Miss victory with us. Now, you need to become something. All right. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Mike G will. What do you need to become, Mike?
Become an insider. This is a great thing to do every week. Look at this list, hit join, become an insider. If you joined us yesterday, we had a grand time pregame, halftime, and postgame, talking about Auburn's 30-21 victory over number 10 Ole Miss. So a lot of those festivities are insider only or just member only. So become a supporter and insider. We definitely are going to be expanding content for you guys. Guys, we got some things coming down the pipe for our insiders that you just will not believe. Nobody else is doing this stuff but the War Rapport. So hang with us through that. Listen, we're giving away a t-shirt today. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy. That's our guy, Walt Taylor, in the comments. He sponsors these giveaways. He's been one of the OG supporters of the War Rapport. So he's bringing you this. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the comments to enter that. We're going to pull at the 1 hour mark. I will remind you guys at our weekend tailgate halftime. Other than that, our merch store is live. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel, as is our podcast. We are on podcast, so you can listen to the Wednesday Night War Room on podcast. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Podbean, anything you listen to the podcast on, we are there. Special shout out to our sponsor, BUSR. If you place one bet a year or 10 bets a day, so if you're not much of a gambler or you got a little bit of a problem, go to busr.com/ and help us out there. We have resources if you have a problem, but we want you. This is a great way to support our content. You can support us by supporting our sponsors. Again, even if you don't bet a lot, just signing up for an account helps us. So please go over to busr.com/rapport. Use that link to make sure that we get credit for that. As an insider, we're giving away tickets to the Mississippi State game. People, you don't want to miss this. We sent somebody to watch Auburn take down Ole Miss. We got Iron Bowl tickets on the docket, and if you guys hang with us, if Auburn makes this SEC championship game, I'm not promising, but we might be giving away tickets to that too. But it's gonna be insider only, so you definitely want to become an insider. We're giving away hella stuff at the War Rapport on a Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody! I'm excited. I'm still feeling the pull from last night.
I got a chance to meet Charlie. Shout out to him. He was our ticket winner from last time. So I got a chance to meet Charlie out there at the seats, man. So, yeah.
Charlie enjoyed a good game, man.
Yeah, he definitely got to see a good one. Got to see a good one. So shout out to him.
You wasn't with us. You was handling media stuff yesterday, doing the Lord's work. How you feeling? I'm gonna start with you. Let's hear from you, man. How do you feel? You was able to watch it from the box. So what did you see? How you feeling about where Auburn stands currently as we enter into the last stretch of the season?
I definitely feel good still. I think that what I like the most about Auburn is we don't seem as if there's one way we're going to win a football game. Like if it's this, if this doesn't work, we cannot win. We have found ways to win in different games, in different matters, and different things have gone wrong in different games. We found a way to overcome a lot of that stuff. But through all of that, our offense has seemed to find a groove. Now, I've yet to see them put 4 quarters of it together, but we find it in enough spurts where it now doesn't feel like we're unable to put up points on people, or if our defense doesn't get this stop, we're doomed, right? Our offense is actually going out there and putting up points. Like the defense didn't score a single point in this last game. The defense didn't give us a short field at all in this last game. We scored 31, right? Like there were no short. We drove the ball the length of the field, albeit on a poor Ole Miss defense, but drove the ball the length of the field consistently enough to win this football game. And the defense just gave us enough at bats to be able to produce points. So that's winning football to me, and I enjoyed watching it.
Handle some super chats here. Dorian Hurd, War Eagle, War Rapport fam, just had an argument with a Dunn fan, still complaining about how terrible our D is. I'm going to send him y'all's way. Y'all handle it. Ike is shaking no.
Yeah, you can send him this way. I'm not talking to him though. I'm not having this debate or argument with anybody anymore about our defense. I'm going to give my thoughts on it when we get to give our grades. Mm-hmm. But if you are here to say that you don't like Derek Mason's defense, God bless you. Have your opinion of that. And it is what it is. Like, I just don't want to have that debate with people anymore because I think the defense is could be better, but playing well enough. Anyway, we'll get into it. I ain't having a debate, though.
Kelsey Gardner says the game experience in Jordan here is much different than what it was when I went in 2019. The new lights are so dope. Thanks again, Phillips. I tagged y'all. So
it was stank face dope.
Yeah, light show was really dope. I was like, okay, I see what y'all doing out here in the nighttime.
Yeah,
when the lights when it's no sun out, that light show is fire.
Yeah, like listen, this is something that Georgia started a few years ago. Their light show is insane. Right. And there's some other schools around the SEC who put in these LED lights at the top of the stadium. And I'm telling you, it just feels like I mean, it just feels like something crazy is about to happen.
It's a concert environment.
Yeah, it's insane.
And with that big screen, I'm pretty sure it's pretty dope as well. I'm pretty that plays into it as well. Mike, how you feeling, man?
I feel very encouraged because what I saw was consistency from one game to another, starting with our passing game. I was glad to see Xavion Capers get in the mix early. We found a bunch of different receivers. We threw the tight ends, and our quarterback did not make himself a storyline in a negative way in this game. So continuing to build on that actually opened up holes for our running back to go nuts and have his best game of the season. Yeah. You had to play Bo Honest and made lanes for our running backs. Now, I'm not going to be too fooled by this because this was a bad run defense. But we ran on a bad run defense like we should be able to run on a bad run defense.
Right.
Yeah. And that's all I could ask for. So I was really happy.
Not do that against Arkansas, and Arkansas was a poor run defense prior to that
exactly.
game, and we did our business. Yeah, LSU. So this was the first game where you're supposed to be able to run the ball. You went in there and you ran the ball.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Credit to Bo and these receivers for carrying a little bit more of the load than they have been carrying, and just helping the team get to another level offensively, because if you got to respect both aspects of the game, we become really hard to defend. Now, the second half left a lot to be desired offensively. It's hard to pinpoint any real one thing other than Ole Miss adjusted some to what we were doing. So I would like to see us have a plan for those adjustments because they're coming. These are really good coaches that we're going up against week after week in the SEC. So you have a good half, expect them to adjust.
Right. Agreed. I mean, A&M had a bye week. You think they wasn't watching us and noticed the second half? So, yes, we got to have something for that. B. Will, how do you feel, man?
I'm with Mike. I'm pretty much feeling like we saw some things translate from Arkansas to Ole Miss, and that's a good sign. I don't know how much we can trust the offense yet. And we got into this a little bit on the post-game show because the second half, where it's like, okay, look, it looks like it might be a shootout. Offense, you're going to have to do this again and again and again. And we had a fumble. We had a poor snap that ended the drive. We had the one mistake from Bo, that the only one that comes up in my mind was the one where a really funky throw to Shivers over there in the flat. It's like, he's right there. Why did you hop like that to throw it like that? Where Shivers could have gotten some positive yardage. So there were these small pockets of mistakes, and I don't think the offense went off the rails, but it was like, okay, butts are tight. Offense, you're gonna have to do it, and then y'all got a little tight. Why is that where we started to see some errors there? So I'm hoping that that's a good coaching moment, as most things seem to have been, because one thing about these Brian Harsin teams, we're coming out week to week and correcting the mistakes from the last time out, which is a wonderful sign. So I am encouraged by the first half, and I'm actually encouraged by the second half, because that defense, I don't want to get into a challenge of points. I get it. What people want to see is these Tuberville defenses where we just stop people from moving all together with this insane effort. And it's much more, I'm playing you for the length of the game than I am just for this drive. We held that team to 20 points. I know it looks bad when they get a nice little RPO and the tight end goes for like 15. You're like, man, what's going on? They converted on third. They converted on second. 20 points. The scoreboard says we won by 2 possessions and their lowest point total of the season. The results are what we're going for here. I know it's not that feeling that we're used to feeling when Quentin Groves would line up and it's 3rd and 8, and you know he's going to get the sack and he gets the sack. That's what we're feeling. That's what we're remembering. We're remembering that feeling when it's like, oh, it's a buzz. We got to get them. And now we're giving up that 3rd down. I'm like, oh, man, I hate this defense. You don't hate this defense. You hate that feeling of knowing you need to get it and getting it. I like winning by 11 points is what I like. So I am very encouraged by what we're seeing. Offense and defense, week to week, we're getting better. There is no better mark for a team than continuing to get better every week throughout the season. We're going into November, man. We got our toughest opponents, and we've got a really good chance to beat everybody on our schedule. I don't know how we can't be excited right now. It's a great time.
Before we get into player of the game, Dorian Hurd, remember what I said about those pitch plays? How many did you guys count? I know it was a healthy dose. I didn't keep count. Did you guys?
I didn't keep count of how many pitches there were. I mean,
they were there
quite a bit, though.
Yeah, I didn't have a time to review the film last night, so I will look at that, and we'll talk about it on Watch the Film for sure.
When it's a late game, the film review that I get into probably is going to leak into Sunday afternoon. So, yeah.
Walt says those turnovers.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will.
Yep. I hope he's handling that in practice.
Indeed.
We'll talk about it.
Indeed. Well, let's get into the player of the game. You voted, and it was in favor of this person. What was it, like 60%?
60-something percent, yeah.
Overwhelmingly,
it was Tank Bigsby. Congratulations to that guy. 23 carries, 140 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 10 yards. Very welcome sight, a sight for sore eyes.
66%. I just checked it. 522 total votes, 66% for Tank Bigsby.
Landslide. And it was much deserved. It was such a welcome sight to see. Just from the first carry, it was like, oh, that's what kind of game this is going to be. So I was happy for him to be productive, and it was a big reason why the offense was as successful as it was. Guys, you got any extra thoughts you want to add? Mike, I know you mentioned it, but Ike, B, you got anything you want to say about Tank?
I mean, Tank had the game that I had been waiting for him to have. I say this over and over again. If you want to argue with me about whether or not Tank Bigsby was the same running back through that stretch where it's like, I don't know, man, what's going on with, like, he he's back to being healthy, and it shows in the way that he's able to take on contact and get through it, the way he's able to bounce to the outside a little bit better. His burst through the hole is different. It's just different, right? Like, I don't know that it's arguable that Tank is not playing better, because the rest of the offense, as far as the offensive line, isn't blocking like a whole lot better. He's just playing better. And I just think that it was a physical thing that was impeding him from being his best self, and glad to see it.
Indeed. Well, guys, let's go ahead and move on by talking about our tools to the game. Actually, our University Ace Hardware tools to the game.
The University Ace Hardware tools to the game.
So my tool to the game was actually the run defense for Auburn. That was a major tool to the game. So coming into last night's matchup, the past 3 games, this is what Ole Miss did. They rushed for 350 yards against Arkansas. They rushed for 279 yards against Tennessee, and rushed for a total of 266 rush yards against LSU. Against us, they only managed to run for 157 yards. And in games, the 2 games that they've lost, they failed to reach the 200-yard mark on the ground. So obviously, as I said, leading up to last week's matchup, the run game is going to be a big part of what Ole Miss wants to do. In fact, they rely on it heavily so they can use tempo a lot. And for us to kind of stop that, was able to slow them down in parts. They wasn't able to get completely going. Now they threw really well through the air against us. But what has made this offense look so formidable is that they've been able to do both. And it was almost like pick your poison as to how you just want to get killed, right? So for us to hold them to 157 rush yards was very important, and it helped us to limit them to their lowest scoring output of the season. So credit to our defense, credit to pretty much that whole philosophy that Mason employs. He wants to stop the run. Mike G's even made mention of the fact that our goal is to make teams one-dimensional. In other words, you're only going to excel at doing one thing. You're not going to be able to do both. And I think that was the key to us slowing down this very dynamic offense enough for us to win by double-digit scores. So, B. Will, what's your University Ace Hardware tool to the game?
I think my University Ace Hardware tool to the game has to be endurance. The team is not worn or weary or exhausted by the end of the game. Now, granted, we didn't produce much on offense in the second half, and that's a part of it. But what I didn't see was a running back asking for a breather because he's just getting run into the ground. I didn't see defensive backs begging to come out of the game or even cramping up. I mean, we had a collision back there, and maybe somebody tweaked something, sprained something, but guys are not looking winded and worn. And to give Mike G a lot of credit,
I was waiting. I was wondering if I was going to have to break in there and say it. I was waiting. I was like, he better not give me an opening.
Like to do. He said in the offseason that top tier strength and conditioning prevents injuries. And you look at Ole Miss. Now, we don't know what their strength and conditioning program is.
They've been battling trash.
It probably is, because they've been battling significant injuries for like the last month. And it has taken its toll on their team. We have not had that issue. I mean, football is football, so injuries are going to happen. But when it's widespread and it's consistent and it's affecting your depth significantly, then that may be a strength and conditioning issue. We have not had those issues. And the only thing I can point to is, man, maybe Mike G was right about how much it was needed. I mean, we heard in the offseason that guys got a pass, it's all right, man, you don't have to show up. Or you could show up late, don't show up, give an excuse why you could get out of this program. And this program currently is much harder, by all accounts, than the last program. So if you were getting a pass to get out of the last program, and it wasn't even that tough, we see the difference now with guys in this program, how they're performing and producing. They're not getting pushed off the ball. We're not getting pushed around by anybody. That's Georgia included. We made holes against Georgia with our offensive line. I've seen it. We'll watch the tape. we didn't take advantage of our opportunities. But I don't think our physical conditioning and strength is no longer a liability. It's going to always be about mentally, are we prepared and are we focused enough to execute? And that's a huge tool. At least we don't have to overcome a deficiency when it comes to battling tough opponents. I think that's my tool to the game.
Before we get to the other guys, B. Parham, some history says 51 years ago this very day, James Owen, AU's first black player, scored an 89-yard punt return touchdown. December 68th. All right, cool.
I didn't know this was that date. That's cool.
I like the historian there. No, that's some good stuff. Good stuff. Mike G, what's yours, bro?
There were a lot to choose from in this game. But my university ace hardware tool to the game was just coaching. Flat out, man. Listen, these guys looked prepared. They looked like you should look coming off a bye week. It looked like they understood what the challenge, what Ole Miss's strengths and weaknesses were. And they went out there and they played with their hair on fire. Brian Harsin has talked about starting fast. We got to start fast offensively. We have failed to do that in a few games this season, and we have struggled mightily in some of those games. Last night, we jumped out to a quick start, and now think about how important that quick start was.
Right.
In this game, because we did almost nothing offensively in the second half of this game. So that quick start became very important as Ole Miss started to make adjustments, finishing off drives. I just thought that this was a well-coached game because you've got a top 10 opponent, albeit in your house. For a year one coaching staff, this is a huge win for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the game plan looked competent on both sides of the ball. Now, execution may have not been perfect, but I thought that the coaches did a phenomenal job understanding the tasks that they had at hand and putting in a game plan that gave these kids a chance to get it done. We got some guys back on defense that certainly helped the cause, but it's coaching for me. And whenever you have a top 10, not top 10 matchup, whenever you have a top 10 opponent come into your house, that other team is top 10 for a reason. So they either got top tier players or they got top tier coaches. Right. And I thought, arguable about who's got the better talent. I know Ole Miss had some people missing, but when you look at what Lane Kiffin has done with this Ole Miss squad in just a few years, holding them to 20 points is an accomplishment.
Yeah, man.
Any way you slice it up, that game plan wasn't built to shut them out, because I don't think that you can shut out a player like Matt Corral. I do believe that he's great. It was built to limit some of the things that they do well. And I thought we did that. I thought it was a great game plan. So the coaches, they're my tool to the game.
Right.
My University Ace hardware tool to the game is going to be 1 for 4, man. 1 for 4, meaning what we limited Ole Miss on 4th down. Ole Miss, coached by Lane Kiffin, is going to come in and they're going to take their shots on 4th down. 2 of those being in the red zone, huge stops by the defense. Listen, with our offense not producing points in the second half, it was crucial for us to be able to make them not walk away with points when they were that close, when they were on the doorstep. Now, people can argue, and I argued, they probably should have kicked those field goals and got the points. Been a different ball game. They still lose, right? You still lose by 2, even with the 3 field goals that they could have kicked. But turning them away in scoring range on 4th down, 3 of the 4 times that they attempted it, you can't ask for better than that from your defense. I need this stop from you. Go get it. No problem, coach. I got you. Tool.
Right.
And that stat is so big because the narrative was dependent upon that. Like, people are now looking at Lane like, Lane,
what are you doing?
What you doing, big guy? But if he converts those, he looks like a genius, right? Now he just looks goofy with that analytics binder following him around on the sidelines, right? Because you're stopping him. So for sure, like that.
Yeah, so the analytics guy for Ole Miss is the tool of the game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See what you did there.
I mean, that's the pressure that we actually that would have maybe created some drama is if their last couple of possessions they're down there by 5.
That was him the whole game. He's like
like Wilson on that show.
I'm dying. He was like, let me not show my face so they don't believe me.
If they're down by 5 or by 2, then when our offense gets the ball back, there's a little more pressure there. Like now you have to put up points, but by going for it, you essentially made our job easy. Now, if our defense holds, and they did, well, hey, that's the game, man.
Let me say this. I posed this question on Twitter, and I wondered if Auburn won this game somewhat convincingly, whether Ole Miss would suddenly become this overrated team, or would they put the proper respect on our name for beating a top 10 team in year 1? It looks like they put the respect on it.
Yep.
The AP
jumped
that shows
us all
the way to 12.
Believed it in Ole Miss. They believed Ole Miss was actually legit, and they're like, "Oh, you guys beat them by 11? Okay,
yeah, they jumped us all the way from 18 to 12. So that's where I thought Auburn should be just kind of knocking on the door to the top 10.
Right.
So now we have and it jumped us just over Texas A&M, which I did not think they would do.
That's interesting.
I did not think so.
No, we're not over them. You talking about the coaches poll?
I'm talking about the AP put us over Texas A&M. Texas A&M is coming in at 13. We're coming in at 12. So you got a 12 versus 13 matchup next week. And that's going to be, I mean, I figured we'd be close, both sitting in the same conference with 2 losses. We got to win over a top 10 Ole Miss. They got to win over currently number 3 Bama. So it's weird that they waited. They must be looking at our schedule overall and weighting those other 2 losses a little heavier, right? Because those were quality opponents, and we were beside Georgia, right? Like we were in that Penn State game, so the Penn State game must be the difference.
Yeah,
right. Must be the difference.
Well, guys, listen. Let us know your thoughts on what you saw. Your tool to the game. What was some of the biggest? What was the biggest turning point? What were some things you felt that were really pivotal to Auburn getting this major win? Especially those of you who are watching on the replay. We want to hear from you guys as well. This is a reminder that you are watching the Weekend Tailgate. We now pause to acknowledge our sponsors.
The War Rapport's Weekend Tailgate Show is brought to you by our generous sponsors. University Ace Hardware, located at 2101 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama, right across the street from the Auburn Mall and next to the movie theater. For all of your hardware needs, Ace is the place. Our betting partner, BUSR. Bet with confidence at busr.com/report. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to auburnsports.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2energy.com.
Hey, listen, become an insider. This is a great thing to do. You definitely want to join this community. We have a lot of premium content. We have a lot of discussion that's really insider only. It's member only. So you can find this on the homepage of our YouTube channel. If you're on an iPhone, you won't see the join button, but you can go to a computer, join with the same email and password that you've logged into your mobile app with, and perks will transfer. So our game day experience is insider only. Our ticket giveaways are insider only. Some of our other giveaways are insider only. And most importantly, the community, a lot of it is insider only. It's how we keep the trolls out. It's how we keep, those of you who are really invested in Auburn football from weekend to weekend, in a great environment to discuss football with other Auburn football fans who you agree with, some you disagree with. No matter what, the conversation is always tremendous. So become an insider, be part of that community. Guys, we're partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to raise money for a good cause. If you can find it in your heart to go over to our GoFundMe, you can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. 50 cents on every dollar goes to Lee County Humane Society to help them in their mission to save all the puppies. We didn't do well this month with donations. We set a $500 goal every month that we want to try to raise for them. I think we got like $495 to go. So we didn't get close, but there's only today left in the month. Again, if you've got some change to spare, you can. Every dollar counts. The power of community is that no one person needs to do it all. If we all do a little, we can put some good back into the world. This is the good that we've chosen, so we appreciate everybody who's going to go over there and do that. If you missed it at the top of the broadcast, we're giving away an AU t-shirt. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy. That's our guy, Walt Taylor, in the comments. Walt sponsors most of our giveaways, especially the merchandise giveaways. These are all brought to you guys by Walt. So appreciate it, Walt. Give him a War Damn Eagle. Thank him for this. He's been supporting us pretty much since the beginning, so we appreciate Walt. We are giving away tickets to the Mississippi State game, guys. So if you want to go, these ticket giveaways are becoming something else, man. Their own beast. This could be a historic season for Auburn. You have a chance to go to the game on the War Rapport and see something that, quite honestly, we don't get to see but once every 4 or 5 years. This is year one of the Brian Harsin era. Guys, we were predicted to finish 6th in the West. And we are sitting here with an opportunity to win the West going into November. So we're going to give away 2 tickets to that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ask some of our ticket winners so far in the comments. It's just been tremendous that we've been able to do this for you guys. So insider only, become an insider, enter to get your chance to win 2 tickets to the Mississippi State game. And I will add too, every once in a while we have a member who will just give us tickets to give away. For Ole Miss, we gave away 2 sets. Did we not, Isaac? Yeah, we gave away 2 sets of tickets. So if we get extras, we'll definitely pass that on to you guys as a thank you for just being part of our community.
Indeed. Listen, guys, let's get into it. Let's talk grades. Let's get into the War Report card versus Ole Miss. So let's start off with discussing. Let's talk about coaching. Let's read down some stats here.
What is that picture of Lane?
It's the most disgusting one I could find with showing his face. So
why is he looking like that?
I mean, that is how he looked through parts of the night.
Part. Yeah.
Real smug. We had 30 first downs to Ole Miss's 26. Ole Miss was one of the more penalized teams in the SEC. They had 7 for a total of 75 yards. We had 6 for 40. We won the time of possession battle pretty significantly. That was very important. That actually could have been a tool to the game. On third down, we were 4 of 11. Ole Miss was 6 of 15. We were perfect on fourth down. Ole Miss was 1 of 4. And in the red zone, we were a perfect 5 of 5. Ole Miss was 4 of 8 due to largely in part going for it on fourth down. Coaching, man, I'm just going to just straight up give it an A. I was just impressed with how prepared we look, how well we looked overall. I was proud of. I'm just happy for these kids that they're giving an opportunity to show what they can do. The coaches are putting these kids in situations to win. I thought the game plan was good on both sides, and it was left up to the kids to execute. So I have very little to critique in terms of coaching and preparation. The adjustments made in the second half were good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So it was hard. It was a lot to like about the coaching aspect here. So I'm going to give it an A. B. Will, what do you give it?
I give it an A as well. I've been ringing the bell for coaching for the last few weeks, and I'm still heavily on board with that. The only thing that you could possibly criticize the coaches about is who is getting on the field for us. But when the result is as good as it's been, I don't have any problem with their choices. Who's getting on the field? Shed learned how to catch for now. He actually had, because I was running the Twitter account, he had a hands catch in this game. I said, oh my God, he caught it with his hands. I don't know if they coached him to do that because he was catching with his body the entire first half of the season. And even when he had a better game at Arkansas, he was still catching it to his body. But that hands catch that I saw was kind of in traffic too. I was like, what? Yeah. Are they fixing shit catching? A plus. Not really A plus, but it's an A coaching game for this coaching staff. They're continuing to do it week after week. We're seeing steady improvement of the entire team, except for special teams. But we'll get there. But yeah, A for the coaching.
All right.
Yeah, I'm teetering between A and A minus, and I'll see which way I talk myself into as I talk about this. I feel like we came in with a very solid offensive game plan, moved the ball effectively. I don't have any qualms with that. I do not feel like we made great adjustments in the second half coming out of the locker room. Ole Miss did adjust pretty heavily, and it took us a minute to readjust to what we saw from their adjustments in the second half offensively. Defensively, I think we came in with a decent game plan. We can debate on the slot receivers, just that RPO slant game was eating our lunch very early in the game, and whether or not we should have done some things to adjust and make sure that wasn't happening consistently. I don't, this is going to be a super huge nitpick here. And again, this is the difference between the A and A minus, right? So I'm still going to give it in the A range. So forgive me if I sound like I'm being nitpicky. I didn't like that we kicked the field goal when we had an opportunity to go for it on 4th and 1 in the red zone. I thought we should have gone for it and tried to put more points on the board because I felt like it was leaning towards a shootout game. And I didn't think field goals were going to be enough. Props to the defense for stepping up and making sure that they preserved that victory. But I thought that we should have gone for it in that situation. Glad that didn't come back to bite us in the end. So that's a coaching decision, right? So again, that's a nitpick, and I get that. But overall, I think that well-coached team. I don't know what to attribute the special teams deficiencies that we had in this game to. I don't think that that's coaching. I think that that's execution, except for the fact that we seem to consistently get holding or blocking penalties on kick returns. So something's got to change in the way that we are coaching that so that we can eliminate those type of errors on our kick game.
That addresses this right here. So you in your opinion, which we'll definitely get to that, but yeah, we'll talk about special teams.
Yeah. So again, I don't know what to attribute that to. And so again, that's why I'm like maybe A minus, right? Like, because coaching as a whole, we have to take it all into account. So yeah, I think I'll land on A minus for it. I think coaching, we did a good enough job. I still can't argue with results. 20 points, say what you want to about the defense, 20 points. So yeah, A minus.
Mike G.
I'm going with an A. It was a good game plan. Execution aside, right? When you talk about special teams, I can't really point to any coaching that led to what coaching leads to a muff punt. The guy either catches it or he doesn't, right? That was a routine catch. So I'm going with an A here. I think that the game plan was good. They looked like they understood how Ole Miss was going to try to attack them. Guys looked in position for the most part. They didn't really let anything. They didn't want to allow the big play last night. I thought that the game plan accounted for that. Offensively, we loosened them up with the pass. We gave our quarterback easy throws. We leaned back into the run when necessary, and then they grinded out the clock at the end of the game. Right? They situationally, from a coaching perspective, they just understood, let's not give a great player another chance, and let's just grind it out. And so I thought it was a good plan. I thought that hats off to Bobo. I've been a little critical of him this year, but the more that we watch the film and as the games develop, I'm coming over to B side about, maybe it's not so much play calling than it is just execution. They have a way that they want to play, and they're not really letting execution get in the way of the plays that they want to call.
Right.
They're going to call them, and you're going to execute, or you will see the bench, and they'll find a guy who will execute what they want to do, their offensive philosophies. I thought it was good. Top 10 team at home. We won it by double digits. No qualms with the coaching.
Dorian Hurd has a question for us here. Appreciate the super chat, Dorian. Would you guys rather continue to see the coaches develop the guys who give effort with, say, less talent, or see the guys with clearly better talent? I was conflicted here because I definitely felt like the latter. But I understand as time goes on why Harsin and the coaching staff is doing what they're doing, because you want to create a culture at Auburn.
Right.
And you want guys to know and understand that we see your talent. We see what you can do. But if you don't work hard in practice, if you don't understand what you're supposed to be doing when you're doing it, you're not going to see the field. And in fact, Harsin is on record saying that. He said it at Boise. And he's still that same coach in that I see your talent. Like, that's great. That's awesome. But there are hundreds of kids, thousands of kids across the country with talent just like you. You're going to have to work. You're going to have the work ethic, because that's the culture I'm building here. And so if we have a coach who's willing to lose a game if it means instilling his culture moving forward so that we see a great product for the next few years, I'd rather see him do that instead of creating a culture where guys feel like they don't have to practice hard, work hard to reach their potential.
Yeah, I just wonder where the line is at in practice. This is something that intrigues me, right? Mm-hmm. How bad does a guy have to dog it in practice to be the clearly more talented player, but then the coaches say, but you're going to sit because you got, out efforted by another kid. Yeah, I wonder about where that line's at for Brian Harsin. Because if you're an otherworldly talent, I think they play you. I don't know if we have any otherworldly talent.
I think Tank is an otherworldly talent, but he's clearly working hard as well, right?
Correct,
so, like, yeah. I don't. To your point, I don't know if there's any otherworldly talent not working hard.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows? But it'd be interesting to hear where the line is at. Like, what kind of things are they looking for? There was a Canyon sighting last night, was there not? I heard you say.
I saw him. He was in on some run plays.
Yeah. So maybe that was his opportunity to show the coaches that he could go out there and give maximum effort, even if he wasn't going to get the ball.
Right. But ball's not coming your way. Are you still going to go out there and do what your job is?
Right. But we're 100% certain at this point that that's what's keeping him off the field.
Yeah.
Is effort. So I'd just be interested to see where the line's at for them. I'm in favor of him continuing to do what he's doing, because as he brings in his kids, they should more reflect that, because that's what they're going to recruit.
Right.
These guys, whatever attitude they had before he got here is what he inherited.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But I think as he recruits his guys, you'll see that'll be less of a conversation.
Got a question here from James Finch. Appreciate that. Would Kaufman take Puckett's place on defense? I'm not sure. Do we know what's the issue is with Puckett? If he's going to be,
I haven't heard anything definitive about what happened to him. I mean, of course I saw it, but no, I don't think anyone has said, hey, this is what happened and he's not going to be available, XYZ. My natural assumption is that, yes, Kaufman likely slides into that safety position, which would mean we've got to, because you've got Knighton that's been back there, right? He also was banged up. And then you've got Tennyson, who is the other guy who has not been playing a lot of safety. And then you've got a couple of people we haven't seen at all this year that are on the roster. Your Eric Reed juniors and your, AD Diamonds. And there's some other kids that are on the roster we haven't seen at all. So I don't know what they're going to do with that slot corner position, right? So if they move Kaufman to safety, then now who's going to take Kaufman's place at the slot corner? I don't know the answer to that question just yet. I would assume that maybe they try to put Pritchett and Simpson on the field at the same time. We'll have one of them at the slot, the other one at the outside. And I don't know. Yeah, so it's a lot. Some are saying, I see in the comments, people say it looks like a separated shoulder. So yeah, if it's shoulder separation, then he's not going to be playing. So, yeah, I would think, again, my assumption, yes, is Donovan Kaufman moves to the safety, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do at your slot corner. And then when in nickel situations, who's going to be the other rotation. So
let's get to special teams. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about this first.
Oh, boy. So special teams. We had 3 punt returns for 4 yards. We punted 3 times for a total of 168 yards. Carlson had 2 opportunities, missed 1, did convert 1 field goal on 28 yards, and we had a muffed punt. I am not going to be nice here. It's just a straight up D. It's just a straight up D here. With the muff punt, these were some, we won despite what happened in special teams, but a lot of the things that happened on special teams is what kept this game from really being put away early.
Yeah.
The muff punt was crucial. It came at a real crucial time because our field position was like outstanding at the time of that punt. Kick return, as we already alluded to, there were so many penalties there. There was actually delay of games on a field goal attempt and an extra point attempt. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why there's a delay of game on an extra point. Those things did not cost us, but in a much tighter game, it'll be interesting to see if that would have been the story of the game. And for me, I don't think that's anything to try to explain away, not make a big deal. Those things were problematic. And those are things going on the road we don't need to see again. So it's a D for me on special teams. Ike?
I'm going to go D+. And it's really only because the punting was so outstanding. Yeah. Like the punting was outstanding job punting the ball. Yeah. There was one punt that was a directional punt. It almost got blocked, but he still kicked it completely away from the returner over into a corner, and it landed with inside like the 15 or 10 yard line. I was just like, yo, this dude right here, he kicking the snot out the ball, bro. But outside of that, you already mentioned it. The muffed punt was the worst timing in the world. I was like, oh man, we came out, we got to stop. No, it was a 3 and out, and we gave the ball right back to him. I was just like, come on, bro, what are we doing here? Yeah. And if not for the defense bailing us out on that, that could have been terrible. The field goal kicking, doink off the post on one of them that you already talked about, the delayed games, the multiple penalties that we had on the returns. It just was, and we've talked about this. Special teams is one of those things you don't want to have a conversation about the next day. You don't talk about them, then it's an A. When you start having to have conversations, it better be kickoff returns for touchdowns, block punts, and stuff like that. Or we're gonna judge that pretty harshly, right? And D+, man, like punting's the only thing that keeps that from being worse, because it was a disaster pretty much everywhere else in special teams yesterday. So yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, not a whole lot to say that hasn't already been said. D, the penalties on the kickoffs, and Carlson has had 2 field goals 50 or longer and missed them both this year. He's 6 for 8 between 40 and 49 yards, but some of those misses, I mean, could have been critical. Mm-hmm. So he had 143-yard field goal, which for a kicker of his caliber, I mean, that should feel like automatic, especially when it's on the low end of the 40s. It wasn't. He
had plenty of leg.
Just didn't make it. Right. Yeah. So that's in close games, that's supposed to be an edge for Auburn.
Right.
We can send a kicker out there, and he's going to get us on the board. So that missed kick, which was not really under any duress, was the difference between again a 14-point win and a 11-point win. But I thought it was I just thought it was a D. The muffed punt, and we were lucky that some of those special teams things did not come back to bite us.
Right. Yeah.
We did. Right. So you're going to it was an off game. It's not reflective of how I feel they've played the entire season, but last night it was definitely a D.
For sure.
Yeah.
B?
Same as everybody else. I got straight up D. All the same reasons.
Well, let's talk offense. Yeah. Let's talk about the offensive side. Do I see I see him right here. Offense, 77 total plays, 483 yards, 22 31 for 276 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. Loved that pass to Hunter. Rushing, 44 attempts for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have a turnover. We did have 3 fumbles in the game, but 1 turnover. So we lost the turnover battle against Ole Miss. Unfortunately, that didn't come back to bite us. But those are our stats. Pretty good output for the most part. I'm between a B and a B plus. I'm probably going to settle on a B here, just because there's a lot to like. As we mentioned, I was really impressed with our perimeter running. It's obvious in the bye week we saw something in terms of what Ole Miss does not do well in terms of perimeter runs, and we attacked them there. When Tank was able to get to the outside, he was lethal against this defense. Looking at advanced metrics and statistics, some of our highest guys who graded out of the blocking were receiver. Demetrius Robertson and Shed graded really well in blocking, which is why we did so well with our perimeter running game. So attaboy to those guys for doing that. Of course, much has been made about them catching the ball, but those guys did their thing in terms of run blocking on the perimeter. We won time of possession by 7 minutes. Like, that's very important against a team like Ole Miss. We know they're not going to win a lot of time of possessions because of tempo, but you want to keep them off the field as much as possible. We did that. And Bo was efficient in the running game. I like the way we're using Bo in the red zone. I'm a big fan of that. He has some great perimeter runs as well. Of course, we stalled out a bit in the second half. That's largely in part to the fact that Ole Miss had some adjustments made. Took us a while, as Ike alluded to earlier, to kind of make our own adjustments. Some things we did in the second half were a bit self-inflicted. I would have liked to have seen Shivers get that pass out in the flat, the one that sailed over his head. But those little nitpicky things, those things stalled out our drives. Those little things here and there can help us keep the drives going. But all in all, I was pleased with how we looked coming off of a bye. You can either look really flat, like you ain't been playing football all season, or you can look relatively crisp. And we were closer to the latter than the former. So I'm gonna give us a B. Offensively, there's some things that I know the coaching staff was wanting to clean up as we go on the road, because we're playing a much better defense. And some of those things that we were able to enjoy last night will not be freely given. So execution should be at a premium going into next week. All right, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, John Willis actually encapsulates my thoughts pretty succinctly here. I don't know if I would go A+ in the first half, but I definitely would give an A, and I would give a C to the second half, which I'm going to land somewhere at a B in my total grade. I just feel as if, all of the mistakes that we made happened in the second half too. Like, it was like second half, we just lost focus on ball security for whatever reason, and that includes the muffed punt. And again, I know I put that into the special teams category, but yeah, man,
it almost seems like, hate to cut you off, like, it almost seems like that you would expect that to have been our performance in the first half.
Right. They came out super focused. Second half, it almost seems as if they breathed a sigh of relief and they were like, oh man, we could do this. And then they started losing a little bit of focus. And so, the good thing about that is it gives you, in a game that you beat a top 10 team, an opportunity as a coach to say, we could have played better. Because honestly, it felt like we were going to score 50 on them. Like, I was like, man, we're gonna run the score up on Ole Miss this game. Like, the only question is, are we gonna stop them enough? Because it seemed like they were moving the ball pretty methodically as well. But after the defense got a couple stops, I was like, oh man, we about to blow them out. And offense just kind of sputtered in the second half. Again, Ole Miss made some adjustments, but I'll give it a B overall. I do think we had very solid game. A B is not a bad score. So
not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. B Will.
I'm gonna go B-, and it's because of how poorly we executed in the second half. There's no circumstance under which a 3-point half is acceptable for any offense. Like, that's, if we had flipped and the second half output was the first half, we'd have been cursing them out and biting our nails for the second half of the game. So we have a different perspective on how the offense performed because we saw their best early. And coming off of Arkansas, it was kind of, we really are better. And they are better. But a 3-point second half where I saw, an overthrow, a couple fumbles. I saw the botch snap. All of our mistakes were second half. I don't think that second half was a C. I think it was like a D+, honestly. But we still moved the ball, which is to their credit. But that's why B-. I think B- is fair because even while we were making mistakes, we didn't look inept outside of those mistakes. Those mistakes just kind of ended our opportunities to put points on the board, which is critical. It's crucial. We know that. You can do good most of the time, and then 1 or 2 opportunities are going to be the difference between success and failure. So I say B- because of how vastly different those halves were, but still good offensive output.
Yeah. All right.
I'm going to go with a B-. You can't ignore what happened in the second half. You just can't. It was a good first half. It was efficient. I do want to point out that, for all our offensive line is terrible people, they kept the bowl clean on 82% of his dropbacks in this game. He had only 6 dropbacks that he was under pressure in this one.
Virtually no pressure. He was back there easy sailing. It was good. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, they gave him the chance. He took advantage. I thought it was a good team effort on offense. But in the second half, again, some mistakes here that kept us out of the flow of what we were trying to do offensively. So the fumbles, you can't ignore in any stretch of the imagination. If the ball bounces differently, we might be sitting here talking about something else because Bo's fumble went out of bounds.
Yeah.
It went out of bounds, and we got lucky. What if that thing had went the other way and it was a scoop and score, something crazy like that?
Yeah.
So ball security is always going to lower the score for me. Kobe's fumble, same thing, man. At some point, I don't know. I'm not professing to know how they coach this, but at some point you have to know when to just get down and stop fighting for yards. You're going to the ground. You're getting tackled. Secure the ball and go to the ground. Fight for the next play. You've got the first down already. You're not fighting for an extra inch to get a first down. You got it. Go down. And we were fortunate, again, that was not a scoop and score. The player picked the ball up on the ground. So as soon as he got up and his knee was there, in the NFL, untouched, he'd have been going the other way. So I can't, this is a nitpick, but this is what keeps this a B- for me. Yeah. The plan was good. The execution in the second half really brought this down from what would have been an A. But the fumbles and and some of the things that we did, I thought that we were still fortunate. Hopefully they cleaned that up. Ball security has to, if we still have possibly 3 games this year against opponents who are likely not going to let us off the hook starting this coming weekend. So if that's A&M, I got to think it might go differently because they're a much better defense. You can't afford those mistakes. Mm-hmm. So you got to coach that up here in practice. They got to go back and look at the tape and say, okay, it's the same way you tell your quarterback, hey, man, you need to know when to get down. You can't take on every defender. You got the first down, get down. Don't get hit. Save your body. Secure the football. So that was just a little bit of it was a little bit of a downer to see that. But ultimately, you're talking about effort mistakes. Guys are fighting. They are trying. We just have to, again, the difference between a team, because we're going to face a Bama team that guy for guy is much more talented than we are, and we can't afford the mistakes.
Facts.
We can't afford those mistakes if they want to be in it, because now we can start talking about, hey, this team has a chance. And every week is a playoff for Auburn here on in. One more loss and you're likely out of it. So you got to win. You got to play like your hair is on fire, and you got to limit the mistakes.
Agreed. Listen, if you're watching this on replay, we want to hear from you guys. may not be interacting live with us, but we want to see your comments. Let us know what grades you give us. Coaching, special teams, offense, and defense. We definitely want to hear from you guys. It's giveaway time.
It is giveaway time. It is giveaway time. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. If you missed it at the top of the broadcast, we're giving away an AU t-shirt. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy. That's our guy, Walt Taylor. Thank Walt for this. He's the guy funding all these merchandise giveaways every week. Hashtag get your weight up to enter. We are almost 400 people in here on a Sunday. So we got less than 100 entered. Come on, guys.
Grand total of 84 entries.
I promise you, we send these out. Let's go. This is
get y'all t-shirts.
Egyptian cotton. You want it. You definitely want it. So we're gonna let's let this roll to 100 here, and then we'll roll it.
We'll see if we can get another. Maybe it's a bunch of people watching that aren't subscribed to the channel, so they can't comment, get your weight up.
Well, it is possible. It is possible.
That's why you need to subscribe.
Yeah, it's really easy thing. There we go. We hit 100. All right, let's get to it.
Let's roll it. Who's it going to be this week? Who's it going to be this week? Wesley, Kyle.
Hey, we know you here. I've been seeing you comment.
Oh, he's right there. Just 301.
Yeah.
He got in at the last second and won. He was the last minute. Harvey, business at the War Rapport, Harvey. Business at the War Rapport. Please email us your address and your t-shirt size, and we will get that t-shirt right out to you. That might be the fastest anybody's ever claimed their t-shirt.
I know, he was right there.
That's a record. You set a record.
He's like, I don't want no one to say I ain't here.
They didn't get a chance to get he gone in before he said it was
right. That's what I'm saying. He's like, nope. We're gonna end this debate before it even starts.
Yeah, man.
So listen, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, since that's been what I've seen a lot of people talking about in this game. Defensively, Ole Miss had 42 attempts, 26 completions for 307 yards. So we had a facts or not. We said Ole Miss would pass for 300 plus. I was not in agreement with that, but I was wrong. Would have liked to have been right there. They rushed 39 times for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. We had a total of 71 total tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. We did have an interception and 5 QB hurries. I'm trying to think about how, because I'm kind of at a B here with us defensively. It's hard to give it any higher than that because we got gouged through the air. The slant routes was just a thorn in our sides. But Ole Miss came into this game the top 7 scoring offense, top 3 total offense, held to the lowest point total of the season. We capitalized off the mistakes. I think that was something that we mentioned pregame. Mike G was like, "Yo, we need to get some picks. We've had opportunities for that. We actually got one, and we held them to 1 of 4 on 4th down conversions. There were a few missed tackles in the secondary. That's kind of almost to be expected with a team like Ole Miss, considering how they tempo and like to give guys out in space. But those were some things that I did notice. But overall, it's hard to be down on a defense that held Ole Miss to what they did on the ground as well as points scored. We're just a bend but not break type of defense. It is not a sexy type of defense. I'm pretty sure everyone would love to have the type of defense Georgia has, to where you can just suffocate teams to where they're just not productive in anything. But as the head coach of South Carolina once said, they have like 100 5-stars on that side of the ball. So it's a lot you can do with that type of talent. I'm pleased with our guys and how they played defensively. We did have some guys get banged up. Going against that tempo is tough. So the things we were able to do, I was pleased with. So I'm going to give them a B. I'm not mad if you give them a little bit higher than that, but I'm going to give them a B. Mike?
I'm also going to go B. they held Ole Miss under their season averages. Now, while they did go over 300 yards passing as a team, Matt Corral was not over 300-yard passing, just barely.
That's true. That's right. I forgot about that.
So holding them well under their season rushing totals, our average, was big. And then keeping Corral himself under 300 yards was also a win. We also broke a streak he had of 19 straight games with a touchdown pass. Matt Corral did not throw a touchdown pass in this game.
And he really tried.
He tried. Yeah, right. And Simpson came up with the interception. So there was a lot of positive to look at from this. It was encouraging to see Owen and TD Moultrie back out there. Those guys definitely made their presence felt.
Yes, sir.
And to Brian's point, we didn't look tired. Once you get those guys back, guys, we're loaded. Derek Hall, TD Moultrie, Owen Pappo, Zacoby McClain, we're loaded. So, keeping fresh bodies in there, Eku Leota, I'm sorry, as well, too. We're completely loaded on the defensive side of the ball at that second level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that they looked fresh. Tony Fair was in there clogging up the middle.
Harris.
Marcus Harris.
Harris had a great game.
Oh, my goodness. There were a lot of positives to point to. This was a really good offense we played. Now, I know they were a little dinged up, but, they've been putting 50 spots on people.
Dinged up.
Yeah, they put 50 spots on people. So to go out there and not let them put a 50 spot on us, I thought was good. I still do not think that this team is built to win a shootout. The second half of this game proved it. We're not built to win a shootout just yet. We need to keep teams under 28 points to have a chance, and we need to score over 30. And I think that we could win any game, right, where we're holding our opponent to 28 or less. We'll have a shot. So they went up and they put up 31 points. That's been our magical number this year, right? Offensively, we've been saying, listen, we need 30 or more points. I don't want to have to be 50 points a game team to be able to win. So keep this from turning into a track meet. That's what our defense did. They kept this from turning into a track meet. So definitely there's some things that we can clean up, certainly. But for the most part, they kept the big plays in front of them, and they limited. And then the fourth down stops, and come on, man! There's not a ton to be upset with. There's definitely room for improvement.
Sure.
But I can't really look at this and say that I'm upset with how they played. You held Ole Miss to 20 points. We have the third best scoring defense in our league. The only teams better
includes Georgia and Texas A&M.
Correct. Which are the only two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but Georgia and Texas A&M are some of the best defenses in the country. So it's going to be hard to be better than them.
Yeah. 16 points a game, I think, is Texas A&M, and Georgia is allowing a ridiculous less than a touchdown, 6.6 points a game.
We scored 10.
Yeah, right. Guys are not even scoring a touchdown on them. So it is. That's good company to be in. And beside where they're at, any defense in our country allowing less than 20 points per game is a pretty good defense. Yeah, that's pretty good company to be in, especially in the offensive era of college football that we're in right now. Less than 20 points, come on, man. Let's chill out with the Fire Mason talk. I think he's doing a pretty good job.
It's just not a sexy defense, and people just want people want video game numbers. They want Ole Miss to be held to under 100 yards.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah. Not yet, but they were bad in a lot of areas last year.
Yeah,
there were literally areas in our defense where we're one of the worst 10 teams in the FBS.
Last year, Lane he does better on fourth down against that defense.
For sure. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a B. I'm hoping, just like every other area of our team, we continue to see incremental improvement from week to week. And hopefully what that does is it culminates in them peaking out at the right moment, which is Iron Bowl.
No, it's next week. The right moment is next week.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're going to be there by next week. So
they need to be.
It's going to have to be just good enough. It's going to have just good enough.
They need to overnight that defense.
Yeah, really. It's got to be a team win. It's got to be a team win next week. But my hope is by Iron Bowl, we have a defense that can save the game. That will allow us to win a game where our offense does not score more than 31 points.
We'll see.
Well, I hope our offense keeps getting better so that our defense gets some slack.
And that's the hope. That's the hope, is that our offense can put together 4 full quarters and actually get to 40. Take that next step. So, Glennis, you asked the question: did Romello Height? He did not dress out.
No.
And until Coach Harsin says more about him, we'll leave it at that.
Be
Will. What you give it?
Defense, I give a B+. And I am big on the points being down, like Mike talked about. So the only thing I can really knock them for is I don't knock them for giving up big yardage plays early, because that's what their defense allows. You play soft, the slant's open. Like that's elementary. So they called it. To Ike's point, I don't want to step on too many of his points, but because he talks to me when he's in town to go to the games, Ole Miss had been running the ball like crazy.
Nuts.
And they didn't really try to run the ball. That's respect. They had to do something different in order to move the ball on us. That's not because our defense is bad. That's because our defense is good, and they had to break tendency to get down the field on us. That is a credit to our defense, what they put on tape. I am only down on the defense because the tempo affected us, and we knew they were going to go tempo to affect us. And they still couldn't get plays in quickly enough or lined up quickly enough. And that definitely affected us on both of their touchdown drives. That was, I don't know that they wouldn't have gotten that yardage anyway, but I know for sure that not being lined up.
Snoop doesn't run through the Red Sea like he did to get that score.
That was an easy, like that was like, oh man, that hurt. That was too easy. I don't want it to look easy. I want you to earn it.
Yeah, it just looked like they had to cut you off. It just looked like you supposed to be just line up and run. Just line up and run at the offense. That's what we looked like on that play. And Snoop just had a wide open lane to score that touchdown.
Yeah. So that was disappointing, but the end result was their lowest offensive output, their lowest point total. It was the lowest 4th down conversion rate. It was the one somebody in the chat mentioned it a minute ago. That breaks the touchdown in a game streak for Corral. There's no world in where that is not an outstanding defensive performance. So I would say A, but being that when they did score, it was for something that we're on a bye week, man. What are you practicing? We're on the bye. I am a little confounded to how they managed to surprise us. Not even surprise us, but get away with it when we knew it was coming and we had more time to prepare for it. So I say B+ for that reason, but that is the only reason. Otherwise, it would have been an A, but B+.
To your point about rushing, right? In their previous 3 games, they had 50 rush attempts against LSU, 60 rush attempts against Tennessee. In the game before that, I think it was Arkansas, they had 50. And in the loss against Bama, they had 34. We held them to 39 rush attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was their second lowest rush attempt total of the season, and they lost.
Yeah.
So
there's a pattern there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Don't let them run it 60 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a B as well. I was teetering on B+ with B, Will. And again, as I talk through this, I might talk myself up on this, but things I want to point out. We didn't handle tempo particularly well in Penn State. I think we handled it a lot better this game. So I see the improvement. Now, I don't want to grade them on a performance from a previous game. So I don't want to grade them on the curve. I want to grade how they performed in this game specifically. But I do think that what we did do a better job of is, again, making the adjustments to what we saw later in the game so that we just didn't keep falling prey to the same stuff over and over again. I was telling B this when I was in the booth, I let out a very loud and audible "about time" when Roger McCreary broke up that slant on one of the routes. And I was like, dang, you're in the press box. Calm down, cuz you can't be doing all this loud cheering. But I was like, man, come on. Like, listen, it's coming. Get there, break it up. Very good job on that. And I think that we did a better job later in the game. Even if they caught the slants, they weren't going for a lot of yards after the catch on them. So they were like, all right, great. We see how y'all want to attack. And the other thing I want to point out is we didn't get beat deep at all in this game.
Right.
They were very disciplined, even on that really ugly flea flicker thing that they tried to do where they only ended up with 5 yards. Like, super disciplined game, right? Like, none of the misdirection stuff was, the defense was, they were like, cool, that ain't my job over there. My job is here, and this is where I'm going to be. And they did a very good job. It was very rare that you just saw like confusion, even against tempo. So that's a very good job by the defense overall, just being disciplined, understanding where you need to be play to play. Alignments weren't like crazy. They were still, again, when teams run tempo, the purpose of tempo is to get you out of position. So it's going to happen every now and then. So, to B's point about first half, like, why aren't you able to stop this? It's coming. It's because Ole Miss actually is really good. So they're going to get you every now and then because they're really good offensively, which is an even more of a credit for our defense to say second half, you get none of that. 3 points. Right. That's it. Now, thank you again, Lane Kiffin, for going on it on fourth down a couple of times when he should have kicked field goals. Thank you so much, Matt Corral, when you escape the pressure and you almost get sacked, deciding the better idea instead of running or throwing the ball away is to heave a throw across your body into the back of the end zone. So we appreciate you all, Lane Kiffin and Matt Corral, for being excellent play callers and players making very stupid decisions. I am 100% okay with that. And thank you for our defense for taking advantage of those scenarios. So, yeah, I appreciate that very much. If you're an Ole Miss fan, go down to somewhere and high five both of those gentlemen for me when you're out on the Grove and say the War Rapport thanks you for stupid decisions. But overall, I think it was a solid defensive game. The run game was the thing that you had to make sure you didn't do. Now, we were helped out by the fact that Matt Corral got injured, so he wasn't as mobile, right? But I don't think that before his injury, he was killing us with the run, right? So it's not as if the injury now all of a sudden hampered him. It just made it to where they said to themselves, okay, he's not as big of a run threat. And then he still looked like he was running fine. I don't know. Listen, their strength and conditioning might be bad, but their narcotics is amazing.
Yeah, the pharmacy is on point.
Whatever they did to this man's ankle, because he had to get carted off of the field. Again, like, it wasn't like he walked off under his own power. Like, he could barely walk.
They gave him the same thing they gave Captain America.
He came back out and I was like, are we sure he was actually hurt? Because that's a lot. Man.
He was hurt.
That pain, he was
it's a lot to go from not being able to walk to being able to run full sprint. That's a lot in what ended up being like 20 minutes of real time. So, hey, listen, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll go with a B for the defense, man. I feel like they did what they needed to do to limit a very effective offense early. I thought it was an interesting thing. We were talking in the press box about who was going to accept the ball. Like, if you won the coin toss, which you accept. Ole Miss won and they deferred, which I thought was interesting because we felt like, hey, it's going to be a shootout. You need to score first. And in their mind, they were thinking, oh, we want to double up at the end of the half. It didn't work out like that. We are the ones that ended up scoring at the end of the half. But anyway, good job for the defense, man. B, solid all the way around. That's it.
Cool. Listen, we're almost towards the end of the show. Actually, I do want to address this super chat here by Mike Jambroni. Appreciate you, sir. Harson said he wanted the fans to be proud of the team. I'm there. Also said we should expect to win each game. Getting there.
Agreed.
Fair points.
Agreed.
Fair points. I had to agree with that. I'm definitely proud of where we are. I'm proud of the coaching staff. we're ahead of schedule in year one. And I think that's something, regardless of how you feel, you should be proud of what we've done so far this year. The hard work is definitely paying off. I expected to see improvement this year. I just didn't know if it was going to reflect in wins per se. And I think that's why I was on kind of the lower end of our win total. I was going to be proud regardless, because there was going to be things that gave me hope moving forward. But for us to be ahead of schedule, even in record and seeing improvement, can ask for more than that. So I'm getting to a point where, I'm starting to think, hey, we can actually win these games. And I just remember a year ago, that confidence was not there, non-existent. So kudos to the coaching staff and the players. Seems like everyone's favorite segment is here. So let's talk about it.
What did we see?
Today's a Sunday. Today's a Sunday and people are in church. Some people call this church. So we're going to have to ask, I'm going to have to ask our buddy Jim Harbaugh to come down to the front of the sanctuary. We'd like to have a word with him. Jim Harbaugh. You know, this could be much about the story about Michigan State and what they're doing and their head coach and how he's basically put them on the map. But I can't help but look across the aisle at Michigan, and there is a stat that Harbaugh is 2-13 against AP top 10 teams. Against his two biggest rivals, Ohio State and Michigan State, he is 3-9. He is 0 for Ohio State since he's been in Michigan, has yet to beat them. Now, this is kind of one of those things to where this is kind of what got, and I'm not calling for his job. I don't really care. But Michigan was a mess when Harbaugh got there. I mean, you think about what Florida State's doing right now and other programs. Michigan was a lot like that when Harbaugh, before he got there. So they've improved. But this reminds me a lot of what Georgia fans was going through. You can also say what kind of Auburn fans were going through. When it's inferior competition, he wins those games. But it's Michigan. And those fans want to compete for championships. They expect to compete for championships. But when you can't win the big game, you got to start asking yourself the question, can this guy really get us over the hump? And that's what Georgia fans was dealing with Rick, because a lot like what's happening with Harbaugh, Urban Meyer was getting to the big games and winning. Even Muschamp was getting to the SEC championship. Spurrier was getting to the SEC championship with South Carolina. Like, people in the SEC East was getting past Georgia. Rick was winning 9-10 games still. But the big one, the one that mattered, was not winning consistently enough. So Georgia had to make a decision. And if you're Michigan, you got to ask yourself, the guy who just beat you was only there 2 years, and he already has Michigan State outside looking in of the playoff picture. How close have y'all been since Harbaugh been there? Harbaugh? You got to tighten up, buddy, or the Michigan fans going to start getting a little bit more agitated with you.
And they just gave him an extension for Lord knows what. But
yeah.
You know what, though? I thought that extension was a concession that we can't do better than this. That's what I thought that was. I thought he performed poorly enough in his first, been 6 years or whatever? He's done bad enough to get fired. I mean, we got rid of Gus Malzahn because we saw the pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to do just enough to stay, but never get us anything. Get out of here. Harbaugh has done exactly that. And they were like, nope. We like being mediocre. You're our guy forever. They earned it. This is what they signed up for. Well, that administration, the fans don't make that decision, but could anybody, who is better out there? This is the question I'll ask every time a coach gets fired. Who's better that they could get? Everybody wants a Nick Saban or hopefully years down the line, we're talking about everybody wants a Brian Harsin. That's what I hope. But honestly, how many coaches, based on what they've done at their schools, whether it's a big school or a big little school, have a better resume or have shown something that may be better than what Jim Harbaugh has done at Michigan?
Yeah.
Luke Fickell. I would be trying to get Luke Fickell. That's the only one I say you have done great. Tuberville left that a mess, and then he got out of the game. And since you've been there, they've steadily improved, and now they're on the brink of something maybe historic. Who else has done anything like that? In
fairness, Michigan is still a pretty good team this year.
They
Still have a chance to beat. And I saw what Valiant Hermes put in the comments. They could beat Ohio State this year.
Could.
But here's the issue is that your biggest rivals appear, like Ohio State just shuffles a coach and they're still in the picture. Michigan State looks like they're passing you. And so as a fan base, that can't bode well for you. Like, you got to start winning these big games and fast, especially if Mel Tucker hangs around. So that's just the thing there. Like, to your point, B, like, yeah, who do you get? Yes, a lot of people are going to try to get Luke Fickell this year. But I think you're starting to see as years go by what you got with Harbaugh.
Yeah,
this keeps happening.
In the last 6 years, he's got 3 10-win seasons.
Rick.
So it's you could do a lot worse, certainly.
Right.
Now his failure to win the big one, I think they've won maybe one bowl game in the last 6 years. They haven't been winning bowl games, certainly. But his record against top tier opponents, while it's concerning, who are you going to go get to get you over the hump? Because like you said, Rick, it was a lot of really good, solid seasons. He just couldn't finish it off. Right. Kirby came in and got him over the SEC hump and into a national title game, but still they're in the conversation seemingly every year, every other year. Like, Georgia is there. They're recruiting like crazy. Harbaugh recruits well. It's just at some point you got to get over the hump. The thing with Michigan State, like I don't ever trust Michigan State. I'm not sure that I would say that they're passing them, really, because Michigan State is not going on to win Big Ten titles, and they're not really doing anything on average. Their record is worse than Michigan's, even if they're beating Michigan. But like Harbaugh is an interesting one for me as well too. Like I'm not sure what to make of that. They got to get, if you're going to let go of him, you got to get that next hire right.
For sure.
For sure. Because there are some things he's doing extremely well in terms of recruiting and again, turning in 10-win seasons. How many 10-win seasons did Gus give us?
Whoa.
2 8 years. Two.
Yeah.
In 8 years. Yeah. He's giving them 3 in the last 6.
And that's like I said, like Michigan was a mess, a whole mess before he got there. Yeah. So it's not like they were up and he's underperforming. Yeah. It's just, has he already reached the ceiling?
Yeah, they were irrelevant.
Yeah.
Essentially in the college football playoff or championship discussion before he got there, and he's made them relevant. His players seem to love him. There's some things that he's doing well. It's just, how long do you accept, again, the Mark Richt situation? How long do you accept just a little bit better than average before you try to go get a coach that can get you over the hump, right? Or is this his peak? That's a really hard decision to make.
That's a tough decision to make.
It is very tough.
Either way, he got to tighten up. Be Will.
You know what I see is almost 99% of fan bases have a faction that is unnecessarily and unrealistically stupid. You love your team, and we understand that you love your team. We love our team. What makes us different here at the War Rapport is we have realistic expectations of what to expect from our team. And those expectations are based in reality. Florida calling for the firing of Dan Mullen is asinine. Tennessee being so upset at a loss or a missed call that they are throwing things on the field makes them asinine. Almost anybody, every time Bama loses a game, they get Alabama fans questioning Nick Saban's fitness to continue coaching. I don't know at what point fans who are fans of teams that win a lot feel like the winning we have done gives me the right to expect us to always win all the time, or the winning we have done in the past gives me the right to expect that the minute we look remotely competent as a football team, I now have a right to expect a conference championship or a national championship. Nobody owes you anything. Those coaches out there coaching, doing the best they can. You think they want to fail? Everybody's got restrictions that they're working under, budget constraints. If they haven't had a lot of success, man, listen, it's tough. They had to pay coaches out. People are working on a budget. Recruits left. They lost some talented guys for any team. Dan Mullen got in there, and I'm not saying that there isn't anything to criticize Dan Mullen about. Dan Mullen is an offensive coach. He needs the quarterback. He had the quarterback, and look at what he did with that offense. He had the quarterback and a couple of weapons. If you want to criticize Dan Mullen for keeping Todd Grantham. That's where he can make his team better. That's the thing he can do this year outside of recruiting that can make his team better. Because outside of Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State, there is a very real ceiling on talent recruitment. It doesn't mean you can't get better, but the way things are built with administrations and states and fundings and alumni and fan bases and how money flows through them, there is a ceiling on what you can do in recruiting. You can land yourself a couple of really good guys and fill out the rest with good guys and develop the end guys into good guys, and then you're set. Clemson does not recruit on the level of Alabama. Them going head-to-head with Alabama and winning those games in championship games the way that they did was an excellent coaching job by Dawe because he made more out of less. What they are doing to Dawe this year and barking at Dawe, I'm trying not to curse, so forgive me. Nobody owes you anything. Deshaun Watson came there. Great choice. He did wonders for you. That pass. Trevor, what's his name?
Lawrence.
Thank you. Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine. He did great there. Y'all got great wide receivers around him. And Venables, it's a shame that this is the year that their offense looks so bad because their defense is actually really good. And they are doing their absolute best to keep them in these. Clemson isn't getting housed. They're getting beaten, but their defense is giving up and sputtering because their offense is giving them nothing. Clemson has done a good job of making more with less, but you see what the difference is. I got one or two guys that if they are excellent, they can lift everybody up. It was Watson and Etienne and Lawrence, and now you don't have them. And this is what life is like for everybody else. Nobody owes you anything. Go to your games, root for your team, whatever your job is 9 to 5, you go do that job because you are not a football coach. You have been losing over the course of history a lot more than you have been winning. So by averages, you should be more accustomed and comfortable with a 6-win season than you are in 11-12. Hope and pray that your team performs well year to year. And if they don't, give them a high five. You absolutely have the right to complain. But you just won a championship like 2 years ago, man. It's been a decade for us. Clemson, man, please. I'm upset. I'm trying not to be upset. Ohio State fans, I don't want to hear anything from y'all. Y'all get too much talent. Georgia, y'all get way too much talent. You are equipped, more equipped than 99% of the games that you play. You don't have any excuses. Everybody else, do the best with what you got and shut up. Okay, I'm done.
Rant over. All right. Well, point well taken, though. Mike G?
Listen here. Since he's going to get left out of this playoff one way or the other, they're going to get screwed 100%. I looked at how things have unfolded. I can't wait to see what the playoff committee thinks about where people stand. But I foresee a bunch of scenarios where they don't make it into the playoff, even if they win every single game. So from a resume standpoint, Auburn can throw a wrench in a lot of things. They can. A one-loss Bama, who's an SEC champion, and their one win is over Georgia. It's going to put 2 SEC slots in there, and then with a Big Ten, whoever the Big Ten champion is, I'm ready to say is likely going to make it. I think the Big Ten champion is guaranteed. And then if you're talking about an undefeated Oklahoma versus an undefeated Cincinnati, Oklahoma's getting in. There are so many scenarios where Cincy does not make the playoff, even no matter what they do. So you can be fooled by these AP rankings if you want to. I think when the committee comes out with their rankings on Tuesday, you're going to see what they think about Cincinnati. I don't think that their destiny is in their own hands. And this kind of underscores why we need to expand the playoff, because they certainly deserve a chance to prove it on the field. But this 4-team system is still set up to screw them royally. Right? And I can't say whether they would be deserving or not deserving or whatever. I just think they deserve a chance to show it on the field. Right? So, would they be more deserving than Oklahoma? I'm not so sure that they are when I look at what they've done versus what Oklahoma is going to have to do to go undefeated. Do I think this Oklahoma team is really good? Not necessarily. But I think that the way that it's set up, Cincinnati could get left out in a lot of scenarios no matter what they do. We got to expand the playoff so that we're not having this discussion at all. I really hope they find a way to expand it. With the emergence, Notre Dame is hanging around here. You know how they love Notre Dame, a one-loss Notre Dame team. Oregon seems to be kind of a media darling every year. Ohio State can still get in there and mess some things up, right? So you can have a lot of just one-loss teams with much better resumes overall than Cincinnati, right? So you got a Big Ten champion with one loss, but you also have a Big Ten runner-up with one loss. I think it's still on the table
because Michigan State has to play Ohio State, and Michigan has to play Ohio.
Oh, they don't have any undefeated Big Ten teams, right?
Michigan State.
Right.
Michigan State.
But they have to play Ohio State. They would have to beat Ohio State and beat the champion in the from the other division.
So
if they do, who's the champion from the other division? Who would be the champion from the other division?
Is it Michigan? Or who would it be?
No, hold on, wait.
Michigan State and Ohio State are all on the same side of the division.
Oh, so whoever wins this is going to cakewalk, basically.
Probably.
Who else is out there? Iowa?
For accuracy's sake, right?
Yeah, look it up.
No, you're right, because the other side of that conference is looking
Iowa?
like boo. Minnesota leads the other side of the conference. So, they're all the good teams are on one side of the conference. Well, either way, my point is that there are enough other conferences with one loss potential and much better resumes overall than Cincinnati that I could see Cincinnati getting left out, because the playoff committee is going to say, even though you won every game, your schedule was much weaker than the other conference champions. And the SEC can really throw a wrench in this with Auburn. It's a nightmare scenario for the rest of college football as Auburn wins the SEC championship. Mm-hmm. And Georgia's sitting there with one loss. They're definitely getting left out. There are so many scenarios. It expands if the SEC does that. Now, the Big Ten doesn't have the potential to do that this year, but we still have that potential, I think. I think a two-loss, the way the Big Ten is set up this year, nobody from the other side of the conference can really make it in. Mm-hmm. So the SEC is the only other conference that can do that, and it's us or Bama. And in an outside scenario, even Texas A&M, if they ran the table and beat Georgia in the SEC championship, it would be hard. It's going to be really hard to leave the SEC champion out, no matter how many losses, even if it's 2 losses.
Right.
since he gets screwed in that scenario.
Well, here's
100%.
something you're not thinking about, though, Mike. If Notre Dame runs the table, they are a one-loss team. Cincy beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That win then looks better than any win from Wake, who I actually really like, because they are winning their conference. And the point I made on the post game, they're winning the same garbage ACC conference that Clemson ran through every year when they got knighted to go to the playoffs. So why not wait? But I agree with you that it's likely not to happen for the reasons that you're saying. So Cincy would have the best win if Notre Dame wins out and Cincy wins out as well.
Yeah, I in full disagreement there. I think that one win versus Notre Dame versus the other scenarios where other people have played multiple top 25 teams is going to weigh much more heavily with the playoff committee. That win against Notre Dame is just not going to weigh versus the other teams that, even as weak as Oklahoma's schedule has been, they still close out with 2 top 25 teams. Oklahoma,
and they have a common opponent, and Cincy beat them worse.
That's not going to matter, I'm telling you, because it's just one game. They have to close out with number 14 Baylor and number 11 Oklahoma State. If you win those games and they're undefeated, Oklahoma's in.
Oklahoma State's not 11.
They're showing 11 on ESPN right now.
Did they update it yet?
Yeah. They're showing 11 on ESPN right now. Yeah. Baylor jumped up to 14. We're talking about AP rankings, but they'll claim 3 wins over top 5 teams at the time that they played them, and 2 that are likely to finish in the top 25. When Cincy's just sitting there with the only game literally they played all year against Notre Dame.
It's going to be interesting to see. We've seen them put people in the playoff when they first open up and then take them directly out at the end. So it's just interesting to see how their minds are going to go from week to week.
Yeah, they'll put them. They might even rank them in the top 4 for drama reasons.
Yeah,
but there are just way too many scenarios that can play out in the next 4 weeks where
they would not be the first to be in the playoffs all the way up until the end and get yanked out.
Let me real quick before we go. If Georgia wins out, no, Ike still got to go. My bad. We can say playoff talk for another time. My bad, Ike. He been waiting. He like y'all gonna start.
The Braves are one win away from the World Series.
Talk too much. Okay.
I am actually going to watch the game tonight because if they do, that would be a nice heartwarming story.
It would be nice.
It would be.
All right, what you got, bro?
Yeah. So I don't know why Texas can't hold leads. I just don't understand why they have the inability to finish a game. I just, it's baffling to me. They just can't do it. Steve Sarkisian, great offensive mind. Apparently he ain't found the right defensive coordinator or the right mix on defense yet. But they get up to these large leads and then they get absolutely housed second halves of games.
Yeah, man.
And so, I mean, you have to wonder, like, are they taking their foot off the gas offensively? Because, like, just as all of a sudden they can't score or stop anybody. So I don't know what's going on with Texas, but they need to get that figured out. But it ain't gonna get better when they come over to the SEC, and that's the only reason why this matters to me is because they're gonna come over here, and that's not gonna that ain't gonna get better for them.
Yeah.
Well, they got a taste of it early this year when they got drugged by Arkansas.
Yeah. So
did Sark take over a mess?
Yes.
He took
Texas,
over a mess.
Texas was kind of. I mean, it wasn't like awful, but they've not been Texas football for a long time. And
they have been Texas football.
I'm just saying, like, what people tend to think of Texas as this perennial, like this ain't, the glory days of them beating USC and
that's a long way. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since they were that Texas, right? This ain't the Ricky Williams Texas, this ain't that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man.
Yeah, I was a believer in what Sark did. Like, watching his play calling at Bama was fun. And I wonder if he's one of those guys that's just cut out to be a coordinator and maybe not a head coach.
That's what I was just about to ask. So Lane Kiffin, obviously, he makes poor decisions as a head coach. Sark, he can get the offense going with the right guys, which is why any offensive coordinator for Bama is fool's gold. If I'm going to give you way better players than anybody else has, of course a good offensive coordinator can make it look like video game numbers. That's nonsense to me. Dan Mullen, great offensive coordinator, gave him the right guys, put up silly numbers. As an overall head coach, I don't know. Is that now? It used to be everybody wanted the guy who could call plays and put numbers up. But in college, recruiting is probably more important than being a genius offensive coordinator, because we're seeing it. We're seeing these offensive minds that did just silly numbers and stats, and then they go to be head coaches and they're swimming. They're drowning. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about Sark, man.
Yeah,
Sark
man, because we had this really great offensive coordinator that was coaching us for a while. And
yeah.
I'm done. I'm not gonna finish that statement.
People seem really salty about I'm so happy we have Harsey. Like I kudos to Alan Green. Alan Green saved a lot of weekends for me this fall.
He did.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's on my Christmas list because we're sitting here talking about some different things than we have been the last few years. So it's nice. Change is good sometimes.
Indeed.
Just like those orange face masks on Saturday. I hope those are here to stay. Those things look dope. They look so dope.
Yeah, I love the subtle changes, man. It's almost like you get the best of both worlds, man. So, indeed. Guys, what did y'all see? I mean, if you're watching us on replay, let us know in the comments. What did you see? What did you notice on games yesterday or throughout the week? Let us know. We want to definitely hear from you. Mike G, got some last announcements you want to give, sir?
Yeah. Hey, listen, become an insider. Join our community. We've got free ticket giveaways. We've got T-shirt giveaways. We've got a lot of stuff that we're doing for you guys. It will be insider only, a lot of it. And after the season is over, we've got some other stuff planned that I am going to be excited to tell you about at a date when I can tell you about it, because Isaac's working on it. But there's a lot of reasons to be an insider even after the season is over. So stick with us at the War Rapport. We appreciate everyone who's joined the community so far. Big shout to our title sponsor, University Ace Hardware. You can find them at 2101 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. They are your weekend tailgate sponsor. They've been behind us all season. We appreciate them. If you didn't win the shirt, you can go to our merch store and support us this way and just buy one. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. Thank you to everybody who supports the Lee County Humane Society with us. 50 cents on every dollar goes to the Lee County Humane Society to help them save a puppy. This is the good that we've chosen to put back into the world. Our podcast is live. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, SoundCloud. We are everywhere, climbing the podcast charts with your support. So go over there, download, hit subscribe, and leave us a review so we can continue to grow in that area. Want to shout out to our sponsor, BUSR. Sign up for an account over there. This really helps us when you guys support our sponsors. BUSR.com/rapport will get the job done.
Appreciate this, sir. Appreciate you guys actually hanging out with us on a Sunday, spending some of your day with us and celebrating this big win with us. We got some great content coming up this week, guys, so you definitely don't want to miss that, especially if you're an insider. If you're not, you need to become one. Also, before you get out of here, share that video, get the thumbs up, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. We're putting content out there throughout the week at the War Rapport. We're at TW Rapport on TikTok. That's it for now, guys, but we got much on the way. Until then, have an amazing weekend. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.